Sorry if the lighting in this video is really bad, but the sun doesn't want to cooperate with me today. That's what I mean. Hello friends, and welcome to another Once Upon a Book Club box unboxing. This time I've got the May box for you guys. This was an amazing box. The last couple of boxes were good. This one was great, believe me. And I think that is because the book totally fits my genre. It's an historical fiction. I absolutely love those, and the gifts were so good. They fit the theme so well, and yeah, I'm just ready to share my experience with you guys. If you've never heard of Once Upon a Book Club box before, I highly recommend that you check them out. I'll leave a link to their website in my description down below, and I have a discount code for you guys. Just use Leanda Books 10 to get 10% off your first purchase. And if you like these kind of videos, then don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit that bell so you never miss another video. F me again. Let's get unboxing. Also, don't forget to enter my 1K giveaway. Once we reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel, I will choose a winner that gets a mystery box. In this mystery box, there will be bookish goodies, a book of their choice, and Harry Potter items. So all the rules are over on my Instagram. Just click on this post. Per usual, I've read the book, opened all the gifts, and then put everything back so I can show it to you guys. And here is the Once Upon a Book Club box. So I believe this to be their May box, but honestly, I can't be sure anymore because there are so many delays. Also, I don't live in America, so it has to go overseas. That doesn't help either, but I believe this to be their May box. When you first open the box, this is how it looks. The book that we got this month is Where the Lost Wander by Amy Harmon. So as you can see, I used some sticky tabs. There's not a real system going on here. It's just me reading something and going like, oh, that's interesting, or that's emotional, or that's something I want to remember, or a good quote or something like that. So that's why there are some sticky tabs in the book. Let's read the description. The Overland Trail, 1853. Naomi May never expected to be widowed at 20. Eager to leave her grief behind, she sets off with her family for a life out west. On the trail, she forms an instant connection with John Lowry, a half-pony man straddling two worlds and a stranger in both. But life in a wagon train is fraught with hardship, fear, and death. Even as John and Naomi are drawn to each other, the trials of the journey and their disparate pasts work to keep them apart. John's heritage gains them safe passage through hostile territory, only to come between them as they seek to build a life together. When a horrific tragedy strikes, decimating Naomi's family and separating her from John, the promises they made are all they have left. Ripped apart, they can't turn back, they can't go on, and they can't let go. Both will have to make terrible sacrifices to find each other, save each other, and eventually make peace with who they are. I'm a sucker for historical fiction, so this book is right up my alley. I loved reading about the Native Americans, so you get introduced to tribes like the Pawnee and the Shoshone. I think that's the correct pronunciation. Also, the Oregon Trail, living in wagons, how rough life was. Yeah, I just thought it was very impressive to read about it. It was not sugar-coated at all. At least I don't think it was. If it was, then it's even more horrible than I can imagine. So yeah, that was very interesting to read. I also really loved the aspect that John is half Pawnee and half white man, and that means he is 2 feet. That's his Indian name, so he isn't really accepted by the white people and also really not by the Indians, although he has to find his place, so he's really lost, and that's a reference to the title. And there's also Naomi, who is lost as well. Spoiler, at some point she loses most of her family as he lives amongst the Indians, and she also is really lost at that point. And then she says to one of the women there, I tell her I am trapped where the lost wander, and I don't see any way out. So again, that's a reference to the title, Where the Lost Wander. I really appreciate that the author took the time to do her research, so she really introduces you to Native American cultures, their way of thinking, and also their way of talking, because he even puts down some Indian words, which I thought was really cool. And that's one of the reasons I read historical fiction, so that I get to know a little bit more apart from the basic history knowledge about these different cultures and past times. And of course, there's also the difference in pronunciation. My nephew tells me you trade with the Dempsey, Dogtooth says. He pronounces the name Dempsey with the emphasis on the second syllable, like the captain is a great body of water, the damp sea, and not just a barrel-bellied man running a fort in the middle of nowhere. As I said, this book got me teary-eyed a couple of times, and for those of you who've read the book, there's this moment that Naomi is washing herself and John walks in on her and she tells him, "I'm bleeding." And he doesn't really connect the dots, but then he reminds himself that she was abducted by the Indians, and unfortunately Naomi was raped, and she finds out that she's bleeding, so that means she's not pregnant. And the moment that John realizes that, because he didn't know this, that's just so emotional and very well written. Fun fact, when you read the author's notes, you find out that most of these characters in the book actually existed, and that goes for John Lowry, our main character, as well, because he tells us that John Lowry was actually her husband's 5 times great-grandfather. This is just a beautiful and good story, and I gave this book 4 stars. And I believe if this was a little less romance focused, because I'm just not into romance, that's personal preference, I think I would have given this book 5 stars. Okay guys, it is time for the gifts. So the first gift can be found on page 25. You see this little post-it, and that means you get to open your gift. This part is about John Lowry, one of our main characters, who is reminiscing about his childhood. When I was 13, I ran away from Shenzhou all the way back to my mother's village. It took me 3 days to get there on horseback, but the village was gone, and I returned to my father's house after a week, filthy and bereft, expecting a switch and a severe scolding. Instead, Jenny sat me down and cut my hair. She didn't ask me where I'd been or why I'd come back. Her gentle hands made me weep, and I cried as she snipped. She cried too. "You have a fine head of hair, John Lowry." It is what she always says, yet she always wants to cut it off. The corresponding gift comes in this colorful bag. We've got Jenny's scissors. I think this is a great gift, and the scissor actually looks like it came from the 1850s. It's usable as well, although I would not recommend cutting your hair with these. The next post-it can be found on page 76, and this is one of the first private conversations that John and Naomi have. You can imagine that while being on a wagon trail, you don't have that much privacy, so this is a moment that they are sitting with each other around a campfire. "You've got my attention, Mrs. Caldwell, but I'm not sure that's what you really want." He sets his coffee down and begins to rise. "I know my own mind, Mr. Lowry. I always have. My own heart too. But you don't know the terrain. I'm counting on you to guide me through it, John, all the way to California." The corresponding gift comes in this beautiful box with feathers all around, and inside is a mug, and it has this beautiful design of the Oregon Trail. It's also one of those tin cups that you would definitely take with you if you go camping or on a trail. And there's this little tag on there which says John's tin cup and hand wash only, so do not put this in the dishwasher because you're gonna lose the sticker. The next post-it can be found on page 130, and one thing you should know before I read this part to you is that Naomi May draws pictures mostly of people, and in this part John just explained to her how his birth mother looks. When I give him a picture of a nodding Indian girl, a little boy at her back with his hands in her hair, a suggestion of a horse transposed over the top of them, he doesn't say anything, but he swallows, his throat working up and down. He rolls it into a scroll and wraps it with the others I've given him in a piece of cloth soaked in linseed oil and dried to make it resistant to water. And when he looks up to find me watching, he gives me one of his mother's crooked smiles. And this is the corresponding gift, and I absolutely love the presentation. I know that this is the picture that we just read about, but I actually haven't opened this one because I just thought it looked too beautiful. So let's take a look together. I really like this item. This actually looks like something that Naomi May made at that time, so that makes it extra special to look at. Only thing though is that John looks a little bit like a hamster. His cheeks are really big. And that leaves us with the final post-it, which can be found on page 328. And this is kind of a big spoiler, so if you still want to read the book, I suggest you skip this part. They left Wolf's body behind. It is a gift, a mercy to Naomi, and she is with him now. She washed him and wrapped him in a small wool blanket with a stripe of every color. Washaki gave it to her, and Naomi said it reminded her of her mother's coat, the coat of many colors like Joseph sold into Egypt. I gave her a moment, gave myself a moment to mourn alone. She is composed. serene even, but the grief will come. We will bury him here, and the grief will come. This is the last gift, and again, I love the presentation, and inside is Washaki's blanket. So this is the multicolored blanket, and this is amazing. It looks so authentic, it's huge, and the quality is, it feels great. So this is something that I'm definitely gonna use. It's just a beautiful blanket. It looks great. I love all the colors. And yeah, definitely my favorite gift. Next to the gift, we also got a card with a quote from the book. The pain is worth it. The more you love, the more it hurts. But it's worth it. It's the only thing that is. I believe this to be a quote from Jenny, who says this to John. So Jenny is the person that raised John. And of course the Once Upon a Book Club leaflet with the read-along dates and the discussion dates. And those are all the gifts and my book review from the May Once Upon a Book Club box. If you want to check them out, don't forget to use my discount code LeandaBooks10. And if you like this video, then please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and let's stay in touch.